Revenge is poison. Many of us have been wronged at some point in our lives by somebody else. Perhaps it was by a stranger or even somebody close to us. And this injustice they've served us has led us down the dark path of revenge. But I think instead of seeking to defeat the person who defeated you, you should seek to defeat the person you were when you were defeated. Become a greater version of yourself. Be in competition with yourself, not them. You too should aim to defeat the version of yourself that was once defeated. Defeat the defeated version of you. The root re in revenge means back or again, and neither of these words imply movement forward. When you tread the path of revenge, you're now either stuck in place or moving backwards, because you're dawning on the past. This is why people say success is the best revenge, because it implies that you've far surpassed your former self. You didn't just chase after them, trying to tear them down and stop them from chasing their own dreams and goals, but you instead focused on your own path and realized your own dreams and goals. You've elevated yourself. But why do so many of us feel such a strong desire for revenge once we've been wronged? I feel like everything in the universe revolves around balance, and perhaps our innate desire to seek out revenge on those who've wronged us is an attempt at evening out a perceived imbalance or disruption in our lives. They've wronged us, so we must make it even now. We must restore equilibrium. But even once you've dedicated all of your time and efforts on taking revenge, you only end up even with the person who wronged you. You haven't moved forward, and their damage is done regardless. Whether you take revenge or not, the effects of their actions against you remain just the same. The past is irreversible. What's done is done. But see, what many people do is associate revenge with justice. But revenge is really just a punishment, and justice is really just a remedy. See, human perception is subjective. The way we perceive injustice is subjective, and sometimes we may seek revenge on those who didn't truly mean us any harm. They may have simply been acting out in their own self-interests, and though that may suck, our desires to restore equilibrium in the face of our perceived injustices may actually be, and oftentimes is, completely unnecessary and unproductive, because, as I stated earlier, what's done is already done. Settling the score now only serves to feed your ego. True liberation from the injustices we've been served resides not in our retribution against others, but from the transformation and elevation of the self. Revenge is simply a fleeting illusion of rectification, so why spend so much time and effort pursuing this? Sometimes it's better to forgive but never forget, because the last thing you want to do is step in the same puddle twice. But if you've done that much, then the blame is now on you. See, the desire for revenge acts a lot like a poison. It fills you with spite and psychological burden. You become frozen in time, seeking punishment for damages that are irreversible. And this is often led by our own egos. But to let solely your ego drive your actions and motivations in life is incredibly dangerous, because the ego can be a hungry beast with an insatiable appetite, and when you no longer have anything to feed it, it will then begin to feed upon itself. And remember, when you fight fire with fire, it only creates a bigger fire. And those beneath you only wish to bring you down to their level, because it's the only time they ever get to see you eye to eye. I've spent some years now training in MMA and jiu-jitsu, and the martial arts journey teaches you a lot about life, especially if you're observant. You learn a lot about people, because when people are in that mind state, that combat mind state, they reveal sides of themselves that you don't really get to see in any other setting. And it's in this type of environment you get to see people's true faces. Their true colors are revealed. I remember while I was training, this new guy came along, and he was about 240 pounds. He was a former wrestler, and at the time I was about 140 pounds. He had a lot of weight, height, just overall size over me. And while I would do drills with people, I would always see or hear him on the sidelines critiquing my form. And it was always in a negative manner. He never had anything nice to say about me. And it was never directly to my face, but I would just overhear him from a distance talking about me. And there would be times where he would constantly try to correct my moves, even though there was nothing wrong with them. And even my training partners would correct him and say, hey, whoa, he's doing it right. You need to relax and just stay in your place. And I remember one time specifically, I was drilling with a really, really good wrestler. I don't know where he was from, but I know he wrestled in college and he was a fantastic wrestler. And I was stuck on the bottom. He was in side control and I was struggling getting out. I was still fairly new at the time, but I was struggling to escape his side control. Naturally, as a wrestler, he's really good at pinning somebody, so this is expected. And instead of giving me any advice or just watching silently as I try to figure out how to escape, he instead took this opportunity to trash talk me. I forgot what exactly he was saying, but I just know it annoyed me in the moment. And it got so bad to the point where somebody else beside him that was observing, because we were drilling in front of a line of people, even checked him and was like, dude, he's learning. He's fairly new here and this guy is an experienced college wrestler. Calm down, relax. Why are you being an asshole? And see, somewhere along the way, he felt I served him some sort of injustice. I wronged him in some way, shape, or form, but I never had any malicious intent in any of my interactions with him ever. But that was just his perception. He perceived something I did along the way as an injustice. I did him wrong in some way, and I had no idea. But it was all his perception, and he made an enemy out of me and was seeking to take revenge on me despite me not even knowing what I did wrong. And see, this was an everyday thing. I mean, he was spending a lot of time and effort into taking revenge on somebody who had no idea what they even did wrong. So after weeks and weeks of shit talk and me kind of just dealing with it, because in the gym, I'm just a quiet guy. I show up, I do my drills, I spar, I do my thing, and I go home. I'm not there to make friends. I'm not there to make enemies. I'm there to train hard and go home. But I knew all this time in the back of my mind that one day he and I would have our day. We would finally come face to face, and that day finally rolled along. We had a one-on-one drill. He versus I, a man that's 140 pounds versus a man with a wrestling background that is over 240 pounds. I had no business making anything happen against him. And I remember the specific drill was I put him in a cross choke from bottom and I have him in my guard. My goal is to execute the submission and his goal is to escape it. And I remember vividly when they were assigning partners, when he got me as his partner, he made a comment to the black belt in charge, the person who was assigning the partners. He made a comment that he didn't want me to be his partner because it would be too easy, I'm not his size. He was basically complaining that I was his partner and that I'm not going to give him a hard enough challenge. So the drill starts, they say go, and within 7 seconds, he is sound asleep, snoring on my body, twitching. And his body weight actually collapsed onto me while I had the cross choke locked. And I actually couldn't let go of the choke. I was still choking him without meaning to. And I had to shout for someone to pull him off me so I could release the choke. And they finally pulled him off of me. And they dragged him to the center of the mat. They like put his legs up or something. I forgot what they did. But I remember everyone was teasing him. He woke up to the entire gym clowning him, saying, they were like, good morning and shit like that, you know? Because no one really liked him. Like, he was just the gym jackass. Like, that's all he was. But he finally got what he had coming. And his blind pursuit for revenge against me, his ego, he was so distracted by it that he didn't even tap. His ego was simply too large. He was too blinded by this quest for revenge to even tap to the choke. Now, to be fair, I do have one hell of a choke, especially one hell of a cross choke. So he didn't have much time to tap anyways, but he did have time to tap to it. But he did it. And he went out faster than he could even react. And he was asleep. And then we go again, and again, and again, and again. And I submit him every single time. Not once did he escape my cross choke. But then the positions reverse, because that's how it works. I mean, now it's my time to escape his cross choke. And he was incredibly excited about this, saying he's going to do the same to me, like talking shit, getting real hype about it. And I didn't say anything. I was just like, yep, okay, it's your go. It's cool. I escaped every single cross choke. Every single one with ease. It wasn't even difficult. And I remember at the end of it, he finally complimented me. I forget what exactly he said. I do remember one thing. So we have this UFC fighter in the gym. He is a top, I don't know what weight class he fights in. He's either top 10 or top 15 in his weight class. I can't say who because then people are going to find my gym and be weird about it. But he trains at my gym. He's kind of a big deal in there. And well, we have multiple UFC fighters, but I believe he's one of the highest ranked, but he's a big deal in there. And he told me, he was like, oh, dude, you're the next so-and-so. He named him. And he was like going on about, and I was kind of taken aback by this. Like, whoa, you're actually being nice for the first time. It took me putting you to fucking sleep for you to finally say anything nice to me. But I wasn't an asshole about any of this. I had no resentment towards him. See, I had no reason to take revenge on him. I was not focused on him. I was focused on me this entire time. I wasn't focused on being better than him. I was focused on being better than what I was the previous day. So I felt no way. I had no resentment, no animosity. I was telling him thank you. That means a lot. Thanks, bro. And then his reply was that it's not a compliment and that it's not a good thing. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? He was like, well, no, that means I have to beat you. Like I gotta come for you now. And I was just like, this is the same mentality that led you to falling asleep on the mat. This is the same exact mentality. This state of mind you're in is why you will always be behind me, because you're not trying to be better than what you were the day before. You're trying to be better than what I was the day before. But if you're always doing that, then you're just following behind me. You're just following in my footsteps. You're just trying to learn the last move that I learned the day before, but there's a new day. I learn a new move, and you only figured out how to counter what I knew before, but now I know something new now. You'll always be a step behind me if you follow this formula. And he stayed that way. And he brought a friend that does jujitsu as well to the gym to actually 1v1 me. It was the weirdest shit ever. They were in line talking about me, and I remember it was time to, like at the end of our training session, it was time to spar, whatever. And this guy was new. I'd never seen him before, and he never came back after this. But I overheard them talking, and he was like, "Are you gonna ask him?" Like, you won't, like daring him to like finally ask me to like roll. Man, that's what they call it. But it's like basically sparring, but for grappling. But I heard them, like overheard them talking in the corner, like, "Oh, bro, you won't." And he finally did it. He came up to me. He was like, "Let's go. Like, let's roll." I was like, "Okay, it's fine." I knew what was like what this was. I knew he would be trying his ass off. I submitted him 5 or 6 times within 5 minutes, I believe. I don't know how long the round was. I believe it was 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, I submitted him, I think, over 5 times. It was either 5 times or 6 times. Now, for those who know, and this guy was the same belt as me, by the way. For those who do jujitsu, know about jujitsu, that is an absurd amount of times. I completely outclassed this guy. This guy came all the way from another gym to my gym just to make this one-on-one happen, to avenge his friend that I wasn't even in competition with to begin with, just to get absolutely demolished. And it wasn't even competitive. I was hitting fancy moves on him. And this just shows that if you're constantly chasing behind somebody, which is what the pursuit for revenge is. I mean, you're chasing behind somebody. You're trying to get even, which implies that you're behind. If you're constantly chasing behind somebody, you will never surpass them. You're always going to be one step behind. And that's what these guys were. They were always one step behind. Okay, they were always just studying me the whole time, trying to get better than what I was the day before. But I was focused on being better than I was the day before. So they were competing with basically an outdated version of me. That's all they were doing. They were always one step behind. I always knew something they didn't because they dedicated so much time to being better than my previous self, but I was already better than that version of me. And this feud lasted a very long time, and it actually goes way deeper than what I described here. This was just a very surface level analysis or synopsis of our little feud. There's so many other stories that go along with this, but these were just the most interesting ones that I could remember on the spot. I didn't write any of this down. I just had to recall this as I was recording this. But it was a very interesting story of revenge to me. This guy like seeking revenge on me despite me not knowing even what I did wrong. I don't think I mean, but see, remember, it's all perception. He perceived something I did along the way as like some sort of wrongdoing towards him, and he felt that he had to get even with me. And I was not focused on him at all. I was focused on just being better than what I am today, just, you know, competing with myself the entire time as he was competing with me without me even knowing. And look where it got him. And I far surpassed him as time went by, and he could never catch up to me. And that's all there is to it. So don't tunnel vision revenge. Focus on yourself. Just be a better you, all right? Like I said, if you fight fire with fire, it only serves to create a bigger fire. And eventually that fire will engulf all. So just focus on yourself. Keep a cool head. And yeah. Hope you guys enjoy this video. I want to make a video like this at least like once every week or so. I know I make a lot of gaming videos, but I do want to, I don't know, provide something of substance on the channel and kind of break away from the character I play in my gaming videos, just to give some people out there something real, you know what I mean? Not the typical brain rot slop that people just shit out on the internet all day, but something that can actually make them think or reconsider things, or just hear a different perspective that maybe they've never considered. Yeah, let me know y'all's thoughts about this. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of y'all's day. Stay healthy. Peace.